Fred, you will be shocked to know that my top 2 matches of the year are gimmick matches.
Okay.
Number 2, FTR Briscoes 3 double dog collar from Final Battle on December 10th. What can you say about this?
This might be the best match I've ever seen.
They mixed brutality. They mixed legit professional wrestling. They had blood. They had incredible spots. I will never forget. I think it was Mark Briscoe pulling FTR hair with the dog collar off the apron and through that table. I will never forget that spot.
That was a wild spot.
Oh, these guys built off their first 2 matches. They brought violence. They brought blood. They brought brutality. And they were still wrestling. And they had every single element. They had me eating out of the palm of their hand the entire time. I loved this. This is one of the few matches I watched back like within minutes after finishing because it was so good. And these 2 teams, I will say, I know there's so many other elements at play. It's a fucking shame the Briscoes are not on Dynamite right now because they're arguably the best tag team I've ever seen. Just with how they mix so many elements of professional wrestling. And they make the violence look so real. It doesn't feel like pro wrestling. It feels like they're literally trying to beat the shit out of you in a back alley. And that's what this match had. I will go to my grave thinking this is probably the best tag team match I've ever seen.
You can remove tag team from that sentence for me.
I saw Omega and Ospreay. I can't put this above that.
I think I like it better than Omega Ospreay. It's close, but I think I just rewatched Omega Ospreay with my wife this past weekend, and I still think FTR Briscoe's dog collar is above that for me. Not by much, but
does your wife like pro wrestling?
She says she doesn't. She'll watch stuff. She'll watch Dynamite with me, but that, any more than that, she'll just be like, "I'm good, thank you." But she wanted to watch this match because she heard about it, and she was very impressed by it. She says she still likes the first Ospreay Okada match better there. So, deep Puro lore for my wife.
Hell yeah! All right, Fred, your number 1 match of the year.
Well, I just blew it, but it's FTR Briscoe's dog collar. I don't know, man. Like, I think it just meshed everything in pro wrestling you want to see: storytelling, violence, just all this stuff. And everyone was perfect. It was the right match at the right time. It had great callbacks to their previous matches. I just love this match so much. I think it's just one of the absolute best matches of all time. And I know that, we joke about FTR Bald in his Twitter account sometimes and how he needs to probably just delete that off his phone. But, I mean, this was perfection. He had a great performance in particular. Jay Briscoe was fantastic. And Mark and Hare also had great nights too. I mean, what else can I say?
Yeah, it's wild. I don't even think this is the best dog collar match of the year because my number 1 match is CM Punk versus MJF at Full Gear. The little things, MJF coming out because you knew he was excited for a dog collar match.
Oh yeah,
like he's a nerd like we are. He was thrilled. He gets out there and then he's standing around waiting, and then all of a sudden you hear Miseria Cantare play, and it's like, what is going on? And then you start to really hear the song, the fog comes out. And I remember I put in the Slack that CM Punk better come out with his basketball shorts. And you know what? He did. And he came out with white shorts with black X's running up the sides. And you could see MJF trying not to be a nerd. And he's just sitting in the corner, really having to work to look like a shitbag. And Punk comes out, and then once he does his thing, and you could see in his eyes, like, Brawl Out is going to remove a lot of this from history because people are really jaded about CM Punk. The way his eyes looked when he is standing on the ropes and he is fist pumping and like singing along to Miseria Cantare by AFI, you can see the passion and the love for this business almost come back in full force. And then the dog collars came on, and they beat each other. Absolutely senseless. there was blood everywhere. There was a spot where Punk was hanging MJF from the ropes. Like he's like on the apron and MJF's just screaming like a little pig. Just everything about this was tremendous. It didn't even matter in the course of things that MJF lost because they delivered such a tremendous performance in this match. I will forever remember how I felt the beginning of that match when you saw somebody who had everything taken away from him just get reinvigorated by the love of professional wrestling. And that was when CM Punk hit the ring. Like it's that set the tone, and then they delivered from there on out.
Yeah, I mean, that was a great match. I loved it. It is very unfortunate that I think it's going to be lost to history in a couple years just because of the fact that this was kind of supposed to be in the middle of a feud, like a long-term feud, and instead it wasn't because of incidents. And this was it was a great match. Fantastic. I gave it 5 stars and definitely my top 20 of the year.
Yeah, this is the best gimmick match I've ever seen. And there's some other really, really good ones. You know, one that really comes to mind was SummerSlam 2002 with Triple H and Shawn Michaels. Like that had some similar elements here because you had a hatred. Obviously, that hatred was a lot deeper than this, but you also had Michaels, who was coming back for the first time in 4 years to actually wrestle in the ring. And you could see in him when he's got the Muda scale all over his face, you could see him like, I love this shit. And Punk kind of had that same vibe. And I think that's why it resonated so much with me that you have MJF, who's just a fucking history nerd like we are. But to see somebody reinvigorated it just meant something more.
Yeah, this was awesome. It was definitely the highlight of Punk's return and absolute must see stuff.